it's an exciting video today. I'm gonna be showing you my finished Oracle deck and let you know how you can get a hold of one if you want one. So stay tuned. What's up? I'm the Empathetic Chicken and this is gonna be a video about my Oracle deck, which is finally finished after like 3 years, it feels like. It's really only been like 2.5, but still, it's been a minute. So I'm gonna walk through the finished deck and show you the bags that I made and the guidebooks and just all the cards together. If you haven't, you should probably check out my most recent video. It's like a minute long. It's just like a little deck preview. I mean, it's not really necessary that you watch it, but it was just fun to make, so I'm kind of like proud of it. So if you want to like check that out, that would be cool. Let me know what you think. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the story behind like why the deck exists and everything. So if you're kind of like not into story time and you're just like, cool story bro, I'm gonna move on, I'm gonna leave a timestamp in the thing. So for people who don't know, like if you haven't been following me for a minute, back in 2018 I participated in an Instagram challenge that was called Create This Oracle Deck, and it was by Kristen, and her Instagram handle is Over the Moon Academy, I believe, yeah. So at the time I was just really like creatively dried up and I was desperate to really like revive my creativity because I had graduated art school and was working, so that was like a whole ordeal of just like feeling like I had lost like a part of myself. I made a video about this too. I'm not gonna like go over everything right now again, so like if you want to watch those, like I'll put the little links down in the thing so you can listen to that ramble. So anyway, like the challenge was a really cool way for me to just like release the expectations that I put on myself to make like good art and just like have a huge concept, because in art school you're kind of like expected to develop like your style and your themes. Like I don't know, like you're supposed to have your own message behind your art, and like I had all that at the time, but like I felt like I just kind of did it to death. I just wanted to, I don't know, just not take it so seriously, because I just always would overthink it and be like, oh, I don't have anything good to say. Like it has to mean something, it has to be this and that, like anything else you can think of. I would just put these expectations on myself when really I just needed to let myself make art. So this challenge was like to make a card every day for 30 days and there were prompts. It just gave me like a little direction with the prompts, and then I decided that I wanted to go with chicken themes because like obviously chickens are like my thing. They're like my friends. So I was like, okay, this is easy enough, like just show up, draw chickens, that's like your favorite thing. So it'll just take some of the pressure off of like needing to do something like grandiose and like special and whatever like I was telling myself I needed to do. So I did it. So I showed up each day and drew a card, and I mean, I didn't spend like an enormous amount of time on everything, but I still like committed to it, and it was nice to just like draw again. So it was more about like the actual process of drawing and showing up for me than like the final product of the card. And at the time I didn't even know like how to use Oracle cards, but I had discovered tarot and I had ordered some, but they didn't come before I ended up ordering a tarot deck. So like, I actually started reading tarot before I got my Oracle deck. But anyways, like, and I had started making this deck before I even had the deck that I ordered. So yeah, it was just kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know how to make art, so I'm gonna do that. And I got really excited about doing it. Like once I like started drawing and everything and started thinking about the concepts, like it was an interesting thing to think that I could make my own deck. And so like it wasn't all the pieces weren't there in the beginning. It was just kind of like this thing that I did to try to like feel better because I just felt so like just dead. Like I said in my other videos, like art had really been something that gave my life meaning for a while and helped me process stuff. So like I just really wanted it back. So during the challenge, like I started getting some feedback on my artwork and stuff because there was a little hashtag and everybody was participating and sharing their versions of everything. And I think I got like a question or something like, are you gonna print these? And so that was kind of like the seed of like me thinking about even printing them. Because like at first I was like, well, I'm just making this for me. But then I was like, well, what if I did like make this as an actual thing that I could release to people? Because I'd always wanted to sell my art, and I was trying to make an Etsy store at the time and sell my like prints of my artwork. So I was like, well, that'd be cool to sell a deck. So I think that's where I kind of started to consider like releasing it to the public. And then it kind of like progressed from there. Around that time, I was also applying to grad school to be a marriage and family therapist because I've always just wanted to help people. So that was like another incentive to make the deck and like release it. And like my training as a marriage and family therapist really informed like the meanings that I ended up putting to the cards. Like the meanings came a lot later. I had written just like little notes for each card, like the meanings. I didn't really go in depth or anything. Also, around the time that I was making this deck, I was in therapy and I really enjoyed that. But I mean, eventually my therapist would leave and I would have to get new ones because of the program. It was just like a student program, so they would graduate. So I just kind of got tired of having to go through that process of like having a therapist, getting to know them, and then them leaving and having to do another one. So learning to use tarot and oracle cards kind of like gave me another way to like connect with myself and just hold space for my emotions and everything, like, and the stuff going on in my life. It kind of just gave me insight into things that I needed to change within myself, which is kind of like, it felt like having like a therapist in my, like on my desk, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was really cool how the cards would kind of reflect things that I needed to know or things that I wasn't thinking about and help me kind of like look at things from a different perspective. I think I've always been kind of like an introspective person. Like I just enjoy like observing my own thoughts and emotions and stuff like that. I don't know, it seems like I'm a freaking narcissist or something, but like, I don't know. It's interesting. I like thinking about thinking. I've always been wanting to keep journals, and like my artwork was like a lot of self-portraits. So when I was using the tarot and oracle cards, I was like, dang, this is like next level. You know, this is like a new tool that I have. Like, because like since my art was gone, I was like, dang, I need something else. And like tarot and oracle was it. Like I had found another outlet. And then with like the therapy thing going like it was, I kind of was happier to have my own way of feeling better, if that makes sense. Like I just liked being in charge of my own healing. I mean, I think we always are, but like when you have a therapist, it's easy to just be like, yo, fix me. But I just liked being the source. Like I could go to myself, like I'm always me. I'm always with myself, so I don't have to depend on like anybody else showing up for me because I'm there, you know, like I got my little deck of cards. I can just like check in whenever I need to. So it was just like a really cool thing that I discovered. Like I'm really happy that I did. And I actually like found oracle cards because I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, like just searching for like some kind of like comfort and happiness, and I found like this mental health channel by Kai Lives, and he's my friend now, and he was using them on his channel. So like that's kind of where it started, where I was like, oh, like that's a thing. And then I found like the challenge, and I was like, this is where it's at, man. Like this is my next little direction here. But that kind of led into like a deeper connection with myself and just like more, I guess you'd call me like being more spiritual because I didn't used to be that way. Like I come from, like my mom is like hardcore like Jesus. But yeah, I found my home with the spiritual, more spiritual aspects of things, like metaphysical routes. So yeah, fast forward, I made the cards and then I decided to print them, and I hadn't even finished the guidebook yet. I was just kind of like, okay, I'll get to it. I want to print it myself. Like I originally wanted to print the cards too, But like I ran into some issues with like the printer, the colors. I just could not get the colors right on my images. Like the printer just wasn't translating, and it was just a lot of hassle. So I just decided to print the cards with like an actual printer, and I used shuffled ink for anybody who needs to know. And I hadn't written the guidebook yet, so I couldn't really get those at the same time. So everything was kind of done like out of order, which I wouldn't suggest if you're making a deck on your own, like, because it just makes it kind of difficult. Like a lot of the stuff I was figuring out on my along the way, and I think that's part of why it took me so long, because I just had no clue what I was doing, and I was just doing my best. The meanings for the cards, like the complete meanings, wouldn't come until like earlier this year. Like when I finally sat down to really listen and like figure out what they really meant. Because I mean, I had my own keywords and everything, like I said, but I hadn't really sat down to just like focus on, okay, like what do I want this to actually mean? Because I wasn't sure how in depth I was going to go with it. Like in the beginning, I was just going to release the little phrases that I had written out for each card and just be like lazy with it. But then the more I was like, the longer I was in school, like I learned all these cool concepts, and I was like, these would be really good for this deck. And so that's kind of where the meanings ended up coming in. Like the therapy program I was in was teaching systems theory, and like this is super simplified, but basically it just like opened my eyes to like the interconnectedness of everything, and just like my role like as a human being on this planet, and just like thinking about how even though I'm only one person, like my existence still matters. Like that was just like a big deal for me, because I had always just believed like, oh, I'm just like this weird disconnected person that doesn't know how to relate to anybody. But like this program really emphasized like relationships and like how we relate to people. I learned about like postmodernism and social constructionism, and I know those are like weird words if you've never heard them before, but like they're just, I don't know, basically like having to do with like how we create like the reality that we're in now, like how we've kind of established it to be the way, like what it is. Like we've just kind of co-created it. Like I don't know, that's simplified too, but I don't know. I'm hoping that like the messages in the cards will kind of like explain it more, I don't know, like layman's terms. Not to say people are stupid, but like I know a lot of the books I had to read for school were just kind of like, I have to read that sentence about 6 times before it really sinks in and I can like comprehend what I'm even reading, which that's like with any book for me, like most times I gotta like read it over and over and over again. But anyway, like that, I don't know, those concepts were really like powerful for me in my life, because I was like, dang, I'm just a nobody. But that, I mean, not that learning about that made me feel like I was special and like all that, but it was just cool to know that like my participation in this world was like it mattered, you know what I mean? Like, and everybody's did. Like that was cool to think about. So I had like this major like epiphany and like mindset shift, and it all like contributed to like what this deck has become. So yeah, once I sat down to actually write the meanings, like they kind of just like flowed out of me, and I don't like, I feel like I can't take credit for like what I wrote, because a lot of it is just like influenced by the ideas of the people's books I was reading for my therapy program. And like, I don't know, like I've never really had this happen before. I mean, other than in art, like when I'm making art, like that flow state where you just get in there and you're just like, okay, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of like in it. Like you just know what to do. That makes sense. Like, you know, you've probably been there. So that was like the process of writing. Like I don't consider myself like a good writer or anything. But like in grad school, you'd be learning how to write. You'd be writing the papers. So that was like a bonus that I had that experience writing so many papers. But I don't know, it just, each meaning kind of just like came out, if that makes sense. Like it just, whatever needed to be said was said. And I don't really feel like it was me, which sounds weird probably to people, which whoever's watching this is probably like, not worried about weirdness anyway. But I don't know, like to the regular person, they'd probably be like, what are you talking about, you weirdo? But I ain't gonna worry about that, because they can just go. as I progressed in my therapy program, I started to really consider the fact that this deck could be like a useful tool for people's healing, because it had been so useful for my own. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, people can have their own like personal tools, kind of like a journal, pretty much like a journal. Like, you write stuff, and it's like time to connect with yourself, and you can like process a bunch of stuff. So I was like, that would be a really cool way that I could help people, because I've always wanted to do something good. And like, the whole therapy thing was cool, but I just had conflicting beliefs about like the mainstream mental health and the treatment of people, like all that. I don't know, that's a topic for another video, like, obviously. And I made a video, but I just haven't edited it. Well, actually, I edited it like 10 times, but Movie Maker is stupid. I'm sorry. It just wouldn't let me save my video. So that is, I don't even know if I'll ever release that. But I did make one because I really wanted to share my thoughts on mental health. So I don't know. Let me know if you'd like to see that, maybe. So yeah, the therapy thing is kind of like up in the air. I'm not sure if I want to pursue that at this time. But the deck was like a way for me to feel okay about that, because it was still contributing to like helping people with what I learned in therapy school, if that makes sense. The deck is called the Chicken Transition Oracle, because basically like chickens were my go-to, like my friends, and they were like a good subject for my art that would be like less stressful, because I was like used to drawing chickens and I enjoy it. Like, I love chickens. So like, the thought of drawing them for 30 days was like, hey, like this gonna be fun. So yeah, and then that connection to chickens really like developed too, the more that I worked on the cards and used them, because I had a lot of pet chickens. I still have like 8, what do I have, like 9 chickens still. At the time I had around like 15, because I had gotten these hens from this guy. Like, my dad used to do land clearing, so this guy's chicken pen got crushed by a tree, and so, I mean, the chickens were good, but like, the guy didn't need the chickens anymore, so I ended up getting those. And I don't know, I just was really close to my little friends, you know, and then they just started like passing on, because I don't know how old they were, but I think they were pretty like old, and chickens don't live that long compared to like cats and stuff. So I don't know, like, they just passed on, and it just became like a really like traumatizing experience, just seeing them all just die, you know. And I did my best, but I mean, things die. So that was part of it too, like just a lot of grief and processing death. And so I really became connected to the idea of like having guides. Yeah, I just really like the concept of having like a pet as a guide, because like I mean, they've obviously moved on, and like I just would like to think that they're still around, you know. So that whole, like, this whole deck kind of strengthened that too, like my connection to my chickens, like after they passed too. Like, I just felt like they were still with me, and I felt like this deck should be like in their honor, you know what I'm saying? So that's a little bit of why it's called Chicken Transition. And I just went through like this huge like transition over these last 3 years, so it just was something else. Yeah, a lot of the deck is about like personal meaning making, like how we decide what things mean, because a lot of the time we kind of have these understandings based on like what other people have told us, and we don't really think to question that. So with the deck, I really wanted to kind of present the opportunity, like, okay, I don't have to accept this. Like, if I'm thinking this way and it's like harming me, like, is there another way that I can kind of like look at this? Like, just, it's all about like perspective. I feel like that's not like a new concept, but like, if you have ever been like in the mindset of just like feeling powerless, then like once you realize that your mindset is like a big part of life, it's kind of like, dang, I was in control of this whole time. And not saying that we're in control of like everything, because obviously we're not. But like your mind is like a big like influencer in like how you experience this reality, or at least in my opinion. And learning to kind of like redirect my mind whenever it was like telling me some things that weren't useful was like a good skill. And the cards really helped me to do that too. So yeah, I just hope that the cards can kind of like open people's minds a little bit, like just consider different possibilities instead of just accepting like the norms. Like if you don't fit, you know, I want everybody to feel okay being themselves and just realize how much power you do have. Like despite everything in the world that's going on, like I know it's rough out there. Like at least we can decide things for ourselves, like internally. Like that's the key. So that's just a little bit about what the deck's about and how it came to be. So now I'm gonna get to like the actual deck. Like you've probably been waiting, like shut up, show me the deck. So let's go over there and get it. Why, thank you for holding that. All right, here it is. Let's take a closer look. That might be too close. Okay, so this is the bag that they come in, and I sewed them from leftover chicken feed bags because I just felt like I was wasting a lot of plastic and all that, and I was like, maybe I could make something out of these. And then I lined the inside with some fabric that I found in my old attic. I mean, it's clean because I cleaned it, but it's just kind of like old. Yeah, so here is the guidebook and the cards. There's 30 cards. And then the guidebook is 64 pages. Yeah, so I got like meanings and then some spreads in the back. Oh yeah, this is what you get, the bag and the book and then the cards. I'm gonna go through some of the cards, and I wanted to mention that I really don't like the borders, but the thing was, I didn't really plan on printing these, so the orientation, or like the sizing of the card was not the same as the standard cards, the sizing, you know what I'm saying? So it would have cost like a lot of money to order like a custom size, so I just made them tarot sized and then added the borders, which looking at them now, I probably could have done a better job at like making them bigger, because these are the actual cards. I just put them in these little protective sleeve things. So I mean, if you look at them, they're a lot bigger, but like either way they would have had like a weird border, because then it would have just been like top and bottom. Yeah, but anyways, it's too late, man. Like I tried. So you live and learn. I obviously learned, and this is just what I could do at the time. So you just kind of gotta learn to let go, you know. Sometimes it's just things don't work out the way you thought they would or the way that you wish they would. But I'm still happy with them, like regardless of the borders. Like I have a little joke that it just looks like you're looking at the image through an iPhone, which most people probably looking at their iPhones all the time anyways, or their Android. So if it bothers you, like just imagine you're looking at it through your phone, or cut them off, because I mean that's an option too. So yeah, these are going to be available on my website, and I'll put the link down in the description so you can check them out if you're interested. Thanks for listening, and if you have any questions about anything, or you have like an idea of a video you'd like for me to make about maybe like the process that I took or anything at all, like just let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.